All right, here we go. We're going to call the meeting to order for the regular meeting of the City Council for Tuesday, February 28th of 2012. Can we all stand? And Boy Scout troop, we'd like to welcome you, Troop 1478 from St. Anne's, and please post colors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, troops. Nice job, gentlemen. We're going to do roll call. Patrick Green. Here. Scott Stevens. Present. Keith Sadowski. Here. Robert Bacamino. Present. Kelly Collegio.
Here.
Stephen Warner.
Here.
Cecil St. Pierre. Here. Mr. Secretary.
Item 4, adoption of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Warner. Discussion. Seeing no discussion
Mr. President?
on the consent agenda, Mr. Bacamino.
Yes, item, I think E. I would like to pull that from the consent agenda if I could.
Which item was that, Mr. Bacamino?
E as in Edward.
E.
And Mr. Green and Mr. Warner, do you adopt that change in your motion?
Yes. Yes. Mr. President, is there also this item to add to consent?
4G, Mr. Secretary.
Is that 4G?
Do we have to add that to the consent? Is this one that came on our table tonight? Are we supposed to add that?
Yes, yes, I was just getting to that.
Okay.
So is a motion in regards to removing 4E and put it on the regular agenda in accordance with the council secretary, and 4G is added. Any further additions and or deletions? Seeing none, we'll question the motion. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Collegio?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre? Yes. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Next item is approval of the agenda.
Any motions?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Stevens.
Support. Discussion.
Support by Sadowski. Discussion.
Mr. President?
Mr. Stevens, and then Ms. Collegio.
I will defer to Ms. Collegio. All I'm doing is...
You were going to do what she was going to
Exactly.
ask.
Go ahead, Mr. Stevens, if that's fine. Go ahead. Probably same thing.
4E will become 13B, 4G, 13C, and I would ask that we move 16C up to 16A. And then subsequently, A will become B, B will become C.
Any further amendments to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 6, Mr. Secretary.
Item 6, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 14th, 2012.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Bacamino.
Support.
Support by Green. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 7, Mr. Secretary.
Item number 7 is approval of the bills.
Any motions?
So moved.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Bacamino. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Coligio.
is Mr. Malzek here tonight? He's already out there. Good evening, Mr. Malzek.
Good evening, Council.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking my calls earlier and yesterday. I had the question, and I had called you regarding page 19, the City of Sterling Heights recycling brochures,
Yes.
$2,289. Can you explain that to me, please?
Sure. Sterling Heights is a vendor that we use for some printing materials, and it's just a normal bid that was out, and they outbid everyone else.
Okay, so it was bid out?
Yes.
And they were the lowest bidder then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Page 21, do all cleaning, $3,240 for the library.
Right.
Contractual service?
Sure.
Can you explain that?
Sure. Those are for janitorial services. We've outsourced some of our janitorial work, and that includes the libraries, the 4 libraries, other buildings such as wastewater treatment plant, the community center here, and so we have them doing those services for us.
And how long have they been doing those services, do you know?
I don't have that, but I know that it was bid out as well, and they were the low-cost bidder.
Okay, so it's been, you have no idea at all,
I don't.
approximately? Okay. One other question for you. Page 18, hydraulic fuel. A question came to mind. You know, when the city vehicles use the gasoline, who monitors, you know, who's taking gas and who's not, and do you keep a log of that?
Yes, those are all logged up. There's a couple locations within the city, like the police use certain gas and fuel, and also at our DPW as well.
Right, and there are no issues with, I mean, is it closely monitored? You know, it's not hard for anybody to come and just drive away with gasoline, correct?
Exactly. Yep,
Right.
we have cards and, yeah, and it's all tracked. Yep.
Right, and so if I, as a council person, wanted to come in and pull off that log, I could look and see who's been using, you know, what gas, and it's closely monitored, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. One last question for you. Back to Hubble, Roth and Clark and Anderson Eckstein, page 13, road service repair. I think I just had a short conversation with Mr. Council Secretary Stevens, and he kind of answered my question, but these are professional services, and you told me they're through 2012, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Professional services aren't bid out, though, correct? Is it just a certain amount of money set aside for professional services, and then they just go out and get what company they want, or how is that process go?
No, the engineering services were bid out back, I believe, a couple years ago, and it was a 2-year contract and then 2 additional 1-year contracts, and I think there were 4 vendors that were approved for these services.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Coligio? The engineering contracts, what we did last year is we extended them. We're in the process of doing a bid on those services right now. I'm on that bid, that RFP committee. So that's, Donna Dordesky is now putting that together. So we will have contracts
Thank
coming
you. Thank you, Councilman Stevens. Thank you, Mr. Malzak.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Coligio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item passes unanimously. Item number 8, Mr.
Item 8 is budget expenditure report.
Motion to receive and file.
Motion by Werner, support by Stevens. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Discussion.
Oh, Mr. Bacamino.
Just real quick, I know the Library Commission used to always point out where they're at this point in the year. What % of our budget were we projected to be at right now in February? Do you have any of those?
Oh, yes, I do,
Or about this
sir.
time, whatever quarter we're in?
Sure. Through January, we should be at about 57% of our spend, and right now we're running at 51%. So we're about 6% favorable.
What does that translate in dollars?
Sure.
Percents or,
In the general fund, that would be about 4 to 5 million, but what I'm projecting is will probably be about 3 million by the time all the final accounting entries get booked and everything. So Mr. Simone and myself, we're projecting at about $3 million favorable to budget for the general fund.
so unlike, okay, because a lot of, I was just reading about certain school districts in the area being over budget. We are definitely under budget at this time, and you're projecting 3 million safely.
Exactly, and
Okay.
really what it is through the mayor's leadership, every 2 weeks when the departmental meeting, we talk about the budget every 2 weeks, and we're really striving to get that, and along with the help of the employees, your leadership, we're going to be under budget again.
Thank you. It looks like we might need it.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor for accepting the report, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? None opposed, passes unanimously. Item number 9, announcements. Any announcements, Mr. Bacamino?
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 announcements, and they're kind of similar theme here. I have something from the Friends and Neighbors of Warren-Centerline Association, and it says they invite anybody in the region, that area, Centerline and Warren, to their first meeting on March 8th, 2012 at Owen Jack's, right over there in District 5 at 8207 East 9 Mile. The time is at 7 o'clock at Owen Jack's. It says the activities will help, trying to help people with handicap needs and elderly, monitor physical limitations of anybody in the neighborhoods. Again, painting, grass cutting, snow shoveling, help with any cleanups. It says coffee and donuts will be served, so I will be there. And they're looking forward to seeing you there. So it's a new organization, and I wish them the best. And again, it's Warren-Centerline, so I think we're starting to think regional also, helping out any neighbor. We're all related in some way as far as being in this part of Michigan. The second thing is kind of related to that. I know for me and my family it's exciting because it's girls basketball playoffs. And a lot of the young lady basketballers are out there in the tournament. I want to congratulate all of them for trying their best. I know yesterday, Warrenwood's Tower, Lincoln, and Fitzgerald played very well. Unfortunately, they came out on the short side of it, but they did a great season. Wish them the best, and good luck next year. Tomorrow night, kind of fortunate, we have 4 Warren schools playing, I believe, at Warrenwood's Tower High School. If you're into that, it's a great time to get out there to see people play, not for the big $1 million contracts like you see in the NBA or the football and all that. These ladies are playing for heart. I believe Cosno, don't hold me to it, but check your papers. Cosno is playing Warren Consolidated Sterling High. 2 good teams at 5 o'clock, I believe, tomorrow at Warrenwood's Tower. And then following that is Warren Mott versus Warren Regina. So 2 good games, and that it's kind of nice because it ensures that 2 of the Warren schools will go to play Friday. And that ensures that a Warren school will survive into the next round because they'll go head-to-head on Friday. The other school, when I mentioned, is the Warren-Centerline School. They're playing with Warren students as well, just like Sterling Heights High School is in Warren Consolidated. They have Warren students. They're playing at Cranbrook University, Country Day tomorrow against Cranbrook. So by my count, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 schools in the tournament, and 5 are still left, and we'll find out how we do. Hopefully there'll be some around by next time we meet. Thank you.
Any further announcements?
Mr. President?
Mr. Colegio?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to make note that on the consent agenda tonight, Ronald Landry has been placed on the Police and Fire Civil Service Commission. Again, I would just like to commend him. I always like to make note when someone volunteers their time to sit on one of our city commissions. As well as, I would just like to let residents know that I have set up a neighborhood-type meeting for not this Friday, but next Friday, March the 9th, at the Owen Jacks Rec Center between the hours of 7 and 8. The topic here, and I discussed it with Councilman Bacamino, and I'd like to invite the other council people as well if they'd like to attend, rentals. You know, we have a committee of the whole next, is it Monday or Tuesday, Council Secretary? Next Monday, right here, 6 o'clock. We, love to have residents' input here too, but I would just like to have a meeting with residents in a very non-formal, comfortable setting where you can bring, certain houses you might have trouble with, even landlords want to come, that's fine. Pictures, thoughts, anything, any ideas you have on what we can do to move forward with this issue that we're having with rentals. And I'd also like to make note that I noticed on the back of the news beat, they don't have districts on there. If residents are confused with that, they can find it on the city website as well. And the best way to get a hold of me as a council person, sometimes, residents might want to send a letter into certain offices, and I had a little issue with that over the last couple weeks, and a letter goes here, a letter goes there, and it doesn't always make it to the council person. I would rather you just call me. 586-216-7437, that's the best way to get a hold of me, or my email, which is also on the city website. So, thank you. That's it.
Any other announcements?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In addition to the appointment for the Police and Fire Service Commission, Sharon Elliott has also been nominated for appointment to the Senior Housing Commission. I'd like to make that announcement. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Sadowski.
Thank you. This Friday, St. Sylvester's once again will be hosting their fish fry. It's a wonderful meal that they have set up. They have both fried fish and chips, and they have baked cod. I don't believe they have the shrimp anymore, the shrimp dinner, but also the ladies there are selling the homemade pierogi. And they're having their own bake sale. So everything there, food's fantastic. The baked goods are out of this world, and the pierogi are, you just can't describe them. They have not only the fruit ones, but they also have cheese and the potato ones and everything in between. So again, Friday, they're probably one of the only fish fries that starts at 11 o'clock. So if anybody's looking for a luncheon, it's a perfect opportunity to go there, and then they run till 7 o'clock. So see you at St. Sylvester's Church.
The true Polish pronunciation of pierogi.
Yes, sir. 4 years of Polish school. Also, I want to thank the scouts from St. Anne's for coming down. Appreciate having you come to present the colors. Also, there's a Girl Scout troop, a Boy Scout troop that wants to participate. We're going to try to do it every meeting. So just give me a call at 586-216-6377, and we'll pencil you in for one of the meetings coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Going along with fish fries, St. Anne's Men's Club also sponsors the fish fry. For those people on this side of town, not to compete with St. Sylvester's because they're excellent as well, but they have fried fish and baked fish. Theirs starts a little bit later. It starts at 4 o'clock. But again, if you're on this side of town, they're more than welcome to have you come in. And as Ms. Collegio mentioned, with the new news beat, it should be arriving in your mailbox very shortly. But copies are available here at the Rec Center or at City Hall. A lot of good programs in there, especially for the kids. And recommend to sign up early because they do fill up fast. Thank you.
Any further announcements?
We got one, Mr. President.
Mr. Bachmino?
Thank you. Also, they'll kill me if I don't, but the Warren Centerline High School is having a spaghetti dinner this Sunday. I think it's from like noon to 5 all day long. There's also karaoke, and there's a contest going on as well. And I voted today, and I was happy to report, at least at my polling place, the ladies reported that it was a record number for Precinct 22. They were already up at over 365 voters at 7 o'clock and still counting, which is huge. Normally you get about 250, 300. So at least in one polling place, I know people are coming out and doing their civic duty and voting, and hopefully find out the results before our meeting's over today. Thank you.
I have an announcement, or actually two announcements. There was a resident called me in regards to a sewer break. And as a result of the sewer break, I went and talked to Tom Polkowski because this particular resident had a hard time finding out information as to what to do when there is a sewer break. You cannot use your water. You're not supposed to use your hot water. You're not supposed to use, you're supposed to boil your water, not supposed to wash your clothes, and things of that nature. There's many things that go into effect when you're dealing with public health when there's a water break. And it turns out within the last 2 weeks, there's been 11 water main breaks, which is, he said it was mainly due to the weather. Now, if you're trying to find out information, this resident ended up having to call the Warren Police Department in order to get information. That's not the kind of, although it's an issue of public safety, we want to be able to provide that information in a lot easier way rather than calling the police department. I found out that, number one, on the website, there's information as to what to do when there's a water break on the city's website. You have to search for it. We're going to make sure it's more, easy to get to. And when you call the water department, you have to go through a series of messages. You have to be patient, because I went through them today when I tried to call there. But be patient, and there is you'll finally hit, I don't know if it's 8 or 9 on the button, but when you get there, that's what you hit, and it's going to give you information. What we'd like to do is maybe have something in the news beat or include it in the water bills, just a regular outline of what to do when there is a water break in your neighborhood, and to have it on possibly on TV Warren as well. So I'm going to work with Mr. Polkowski and with the administration in order to try to get better ways to inform residents when these matters happen. Because of the weather we've had, we haven't had a freeze, and the ground's been moving a lot, and we're seeing a lot of these water main breaks. The next thing is, I'd like to bring to the attention that we're going to have a committee of the whole meeting with the Macomb County Road Commission in regards to traffic lights. Mr. Stevens, what day is that?
That's, I'm sorry, that's also next Monday.
Okay. And what I'd like to do, and what is the web email for the council office?
I'm going to have
All right.
to look that up.
This is what I'm asking people to do. One of the issues that was in the recent article rating cities was congestion. And I guess all of us council members know where we feel that roads are congested in what particular period of time in the city of Warren. We'd like to hear from you. And sure, you can send a letter. Postage is a little expensive right now, but the best way to do it is by email.
All of our emails are listed on the city website, of course, but if they have something specific, they can email that to mjamroz@cityofwarren.org. And let me spell that first portion for you. That is mjamroz@cityofwarren.org.
We don't get a lot of chances with the Macomb County Road Commission, so we want to make the most of it. So we'd like to hear from residents as well, so we can provide that input at the committee of the whole meeting. And finally, Tom Polkowski is head of the City of Warren's Water Department, is going to be at the next meeting, and I'll make sure we have the proper agenda item. And he's going to go over these water meters and some of the facts and myths in regards to late payments and ways to, if your bill becomes much higher as a result of the installation of the water meter because it was estimated too long, what you can do. I think it'll be very informative. My short discussion with him provided me with much information that brought me up to date on many issues. And so that'll be at the next council meeting as well. And thank you, Mr. Secretary, for the information. If there's any further announcements, we'll go on to item number 10.
Item 10 is a public hearing, determination of nuisance at 21601 Hoover, 3 commercial buildings, 1 standing building, 1 demolished building and never cleaned up, and 1 partially demolished building, foundations, and miscellaneous debris, and consideration and adoption of a resolution.
This is a public hearing. We'll open this matter to the public. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this matter? Please come forward.
Now can you hear?
You're on.
Karen Spranger, 7520 Hudson, District 5. Maybe in the future of all these public hearings, because the location of this particular resident might be in my district, and the concern of how you demolish it or what resolution you do, I don't think a public hearing at this point makes me feel comfortable whether I'm a neighbor down the street, 4 houses down. I didn't count the location of this particular house. I don't have enough time to know what you're actually going to do with this property, why it's a nuisance, how long it's been a nuisance, because this information is probably gathered by the city and it's not given in a timely manner to citizens that might make a difference on what you're going to do with this property, whether we destroy it, whether we revamp it, save it, make it worthwhile for someone else to come in and live in this house. We do have a lot of houses that have issues, but it seems like we wait until the very end of resolving the issues by demolishing it and never correct it during a process before. So at a public hearing, I don't know what any citizen can do other than speak up and hope for the best.
Anybody else from the public? Just come on.
My name is Robert Sherby. I am actually from Livonia. My firm is TSP Environmental. We are an environmental contracting company that has been involved with this property for over a year. Our firm's interest in this property, we did some work out there approximately a year ago, an asbestos survey and limited asbestos abatement at this site prior to its partial demolition. My firm has not yet been paid on this work, and part of my interest here is to simply emphasize to the council that my firm does at this point have a judgment against the owner of this property, and we would ask that the council, in any decision it makes, be cognizant of not diminishing the value of our judgment against the owner of this property. In addition, I would recommend that the council take great caution in moving forward with this proposed demolition plan as it is currently written. As I mentioned, my firm did some limited asbestos abatement at the property prior to its demolition. Our contract and scope of work did not include total abatement of all asbestos at the property. Once we had finished all of our contracted work, the demolition activities took place, and we are of the serious belief that there is potential for a great deal of friable asbestos material remaining in the building and in the debris piles. Asbestos material which was not included to be addressed in any way as part of the bid package that has been previously solicited. My recommendation to council is that all of the bids for the demolition as it stands currently ought to be rejected, and that the council should instead proceed to recommend hiring a professional services firm competent in asbestos-related matters to perform an asbestos survey at the property. Doing so would be good, sound financial practice, as it is likely that any contractor awarded the current demolition project would be asking the city for a significant contract modification, possibly at least double the currently offered value, which would possibly not be publicly bid and which may result in additional costs to the city. In addition, I would ask that the city be aware that, that by taking operation of this property, the city potentially exposes itself to liability on the order of $27,000 per day for any ongoing asbestos-related violations under Michigan regulations. So, again, to summarize, I would recommend that the city reject the current bids that are solicited for this property and instead proceed to hire a competent firm to better address the potential asbestos exposure at the property and to more fully develop an appropriate scope of work. Thank you for your attention.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Diane Belia,
And I'm Marge Randolph.
and we work across the street from this property. It's right on Hoover. We've been looking at this pile of debris and bricks for almost 2 years.
Yes.
It's going to be 2 years this summer, and we're just tired of looking at it. We need it cleaned up. we have people, we have customers come and they go, what's going on there? And it makes us look worse. And anyway, so we're just here to tell you that. It's a mess.
It is.
It's been a mess. Finally, in the last couple days, we saw a little bit of movement,
But the piles are still.
But the piles are still there. It's just a mess. I'm sure there's critters and God knows what else in there. And it's right across the street. So we sit in our office and we look at it every single day.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Anybody else?
Good evening, council members. I'm Joseph Skripski, the property owner of 21601 Hoover. I'm here again today, the second time. The first time I stood in front of you was January 24th, 2012. I asked the council to reconsider the action of condemning and removing the existing building and the debris from the property using the tax dollars of the city to accommodate. I do realize this is an eyesore to the residents, fellow local business owners, or employees, as we just heard, and the governing individuals of the city of Warren. With all due respect, I apologize with all regards for this matter. This is a mess and it is almost out of my hands. I would like to bring to the attention that I never voided any of the city's requests to resolve this matter. I have complied daily. The 3 times I have dealt with the city regarding this debris was the first time in April, which was a ticket associated by John Gerard from zoning for the unfinished demo. This demo permit was pulled by S-Con Jeff Stokes, which was, from my knowledge, asked to come several times to court, never showed, never fined, never ticketed again. I show up every time with no regard with the ticket, except the last time, and was fined $250 for the negligence of S-Con, which I did not pay S-Con to do this demo removal. It was a third party who has a security steel contract to the address. The second time that this was brought to my attention was when I had to appear in June of 2011 for an independent hearing with Les Johnson and various members of the city and the Department of Health. My counsel and I attended this meeting. As this meeting was going on, prior to this, I have been working on developing a new contract and litigation with the party who holds the security interest for the steel from the site. Obtaining the steel was to demo the building. They're the owners of the steel. They were to remove the debris. Through all of this, they had a shortfall of steel and do not want to send good money after bad. At that hearing, I still, due to a fraudulent legal document entered at closing, which I never appeared for or signed for a security contract, I was not the property owner, but aware that the paperwork was in limbo through Liberty Title. Throughout this period of time, I still worked diligently with the city, accepted the fine for the demo contract, and still complied with what the city of Warren asked in zoning. The blue tarps on the fence, continued to remove the debris. I did so. At the end of that hearing, it was not determined that there would be a bid or amount of money taken from the city to remove this. However, it was just mentioned that Joe continue to please get a resolution with this party for the cost of the debris removal so the site would be cleared. It was adjourned to the August 20, and I'm not sure of this date, but I believe it was the 28th of 2011. I returned on the 2011th for this independent hearing. It wasn't determined at that time either that the property was a nuisance or condemned. However, it was determined that the day before that, I became the property owner with Liberty Title entering those fraudulent documents through Macomb County, which now I have to litigate because of the cost of this problem. Not the cost of the debris, but the actual me not being at a closing because of a contract that I walked away from that did not meet the amount of steel at the site, and I absolutely would not sign that agreement because I knew that amount of steel was not in that building. At that time, up until this point, I had made major efforts in this cleanup. In regards to these two ladies that said that they finally seen something, probably because I've taken debris down to the level where you can actually see movement over it. So yes, I do work every day at this property diligently, trying to rectify this situation at my cost. At this time, I met a new member that was sitting at this hearing, Gus Guerin. He stands up and says that he's everybody's boss at this table, and if you don't get this done, I'm going to cut the chain on the fence, and I'm going to walk in, throw it on your taxes, and it's going to be cleaned, and you won't have a piece of property. He wasn't at the first hearing. He's at the second hearing, and I had no idea that this is the route I take. I've been taken to, I had to go to court on a ticket from Everett Murphy for my grass being over 6 inches, which was a fence line vine, and for cars parked there that I had leased the back area out to a repo company that used it as storage. I complied with Everett Murphy. I cleaned up the back of the property. He asked me to move some debris over to behind the building. I went to court on this. I complied. I wasn't fined. Here I find out as this is going on that this is up for bid. There's a gentleman on the property. I ask him who he is. He says, I'm here to bid this so that it comes up for debris removal and a tear down of the building. Known to me, nothing was ever told to me that this is what was set forth and this is what was going to happen. I have no documents stating that. I was never ticketed. I was never brought in front of a judge to, for this determined. I don't know if that's the chain of events that takes place. It goes to public hearing and then I see a judge. I'm sorry, I have no idea how the legal matter turns. And be known to me that after, with the help of technical service, Ron Swan, the owner, shows me the bid that came up, that the lowest bid for this is from Able Demolition. Well, after that second hearing, Gus Guerin takes me on the side and tells me, call Able Demolition. They might be interested in a piece of property for more equipment. That same day that I came to that hearing, Able Demolition truck is parked on the side of Topher there. They're taking pictures of the property. Is this a Gestapo way of pushing me out of my own property and losing it because you're going to put this on my taxes and financially I can't afford the cleanup through the city, let alone the litigation I'm involved in because of the contract that I didn't enter to. So I'm jammed in a corner. I'm here today to ask you again, please, I am working diligently to clean this property up. I understand that it is a nuisance. It's a nuisance to me. It's an eyesore. I do not take that from the actual picture that is being placed in front of you. It is bad. It isn't as bad as it used to be because I work every day at it. There's financial regards through through technical services. I did take on the responsibility of the money that Choice Trading paid for the abatement. They sent $10,000. There was a balance owed of $5,000 some dollars. I incurred that without the contract to take on that responsibility so I could save this and do the right thing. I don't want the city to think that I am ignoring this matter. I have stood before you and everybody that's asked for an explanation and to comply, and I have complied. If you could, and again, this gentleman that spoke before me mentioned about the abatement in the building that's still existing. They didn't do that building. All they did was the structure that they tore down, and there may be some type of abatement in the building that's still standing. I don't know. I'm not that professional, but the building is from the 50s, and I'm sure there might be something there. We've never had it inspected, so I couldn't be honest with you to tell you if it is present or not. I'm assuming it would be if it was in the other building. It's probably going to be in the existing structure. After I was ticketed for that 6 inches of grass and the parked cars outside, I went to City Hall after court, and I went to Lynn Martin. Lynn Martin is now in charge of zoning, I believe. And I asked, what would it take for me to obtain the cold storage permit for the building and for open store, or I'm sorry, cold storage in the building and open storage for the outside. She gives me the documents, I give her the address. Not one time did she say, you can't do anything with this. It's up for bid, it's going to be demoed. Never once did it do that. So I hired a college architect firm to handle the thing for the zoning because of it requests that on the documents to be filled out. It is not completed, it will be completed, but if we're going to pursue this issue and the city's going to take the tax dollars, come in, knock the building down, clean up the debris, put me in another financial thing, I'm not going to pursue any more financial aspects, and why should I carry the burden anymore? I'm willing to carry the burden as long as I can get through this, but if the city steps in, it's just a financial disaster for all parties involved, especially the city. And I'm not trying to put it on your back. I'm carrying the back by myself. I'm a single individual in this, and I'm a sole proprietor, and I don't have 20 guys standing behind me working. I'm doing the work myself. So again, if I could ask the city to postpone this for at least 90 days so I can get this litigation done, that would greatly help all parties involved. I appreciate your time, and like I mentioned at the first time I spoke in front of you, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm not avoiding anybody. My number is 586-873-3711, and if somebody from the city, the residents have a question or can help, I'm open for suggestions.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak on this matter? We don't ask questions at this time. It's a public hearing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome. I almost thought it was a filibuster.
May I speak? Thank you. Tomas Banya, resident District 2. This property is in District 5. I've had an opportunity to take a look at it. But what I'm actually going to comment about is the gentleman up here mentioned about tickets. I actually FOIA'd for those tickets. There are quite a few violations that were cited on that property. It's been in various forms of disrepair for the past few years. There were campaign signs on it last election. I believe a few of them may still be sitting there, but I haven't had a look at it recently. But just to let you know, all of your information, your personal information has been released by the City of Warren on those tickets. Thank you very much.
Anybody else like to speak to this matter? Seeing nobody else, I'll close the public hearing. Turn it over to...
Motion to abate with
Support.
discussion.
Motion
Support.
by Stevens, support by Bacamino.
Discussion.
Discussion. Mr. Stevens, did you want the floor, did you say?
Thank you,
Then
Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Bacamino.
I have been going down to this site every Sunday for the last 2 years. When it was first started, we had problems with it right from Jump Street. Wires left hanging over the sidewalks, and you name it. I'm sorry. There was no fencing around the demo site. Finally, the fencing went up, and then a month later, I think the blue tarps went up. The only thing left of the blue tarps right now are the corners. They've been ripped off and sun-beaten so bad, you're not even maintaining it. I was down there for 20 minutes today and watched you with a sledgehammer in one hand, literally, and a torch in the other, and you worked for 20 minutes to get a little... The only thing you're concerned about is getting the steel. And you're throwing that into the roll-off container so you can cash in. And that was in my estimation, that was the objective, was to cash in. And you've got in over your head. And the residents and the businesses in that area have been suffering for the last 2 years because of your actions. I'm at this point, in this stage, I don't think there's, unless you are willing to post a $500,000 cash bond, would I even consider postponing this for a nanosecond? Thank you.
Mr. Bacamino?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. The people that came up here today that I am concerned about, and a lot of people spoke, but are the two ladies that, I believe they said they work across from it. Well, for the last I think it's 2.5 years, Mr. Stevens, or longer. I don't know if it's 2 years. You're being kind. What about the residents that have had to put up with that? You know, you hopefully you get to go home and not look at that, but some people have to see it 24/7. This has been a complaint going on and on and on. I can't believe, by your own admission, sir, you said you're doing this a one-man operation. It's been 3 years. It's going to be 30 years for one man, and I don't think you can complete it if we gave you that much time. You need to get this cleaned up. 3 years is too long to wait. If you were in over your head, then it is time for us to step in, and the legal problems are yours, the legal problems are the other companies. We have to do what's best for our citizens, and I thank the ladies for coming to testify. The other thing is, I don't know whose campaign signs were up there, but I think they lost because I would not hang my signs on a demolition site which people are there, but whoever they were, it wasn't mine, and I don't know whose they were, but I don't think they're around anymore because I think anybody that would hang their signs up on a site like that would probably not win. But thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. President.
Ms. Collegio?
I agree as well. I had several residents call me and complain about this property, having to look, you know, like you live in a World War II war zone, you know, right down the street from you. I'm sure there's a lot of rat infestation type problems and rodents, you know, but I would also hope that, you know, if there is an issue with asbestos, that we would bid it out the correct way and that would be addressed. Mr. Dean, you know, I'm sure that, you know, it just convey that message, you know, if when this happens, we want to make sure it's taken down the right way. And no one has to come back for more money with the tearing down process, but I agree it definitely has to be taken down. No resident should have to live by something like that. I mean, where's the pride in your city when, you know, it takes the soul out of you when you look like you live, you know, in Britain back in World War II. And those are my comments. But as far as Mr. Ganem, nice to see you walking down here.
Yes, I
Look at that, just walk right by. Good evening. Just if you could, I'll ask Mr. Ganem the question then. As far as, you know, when it's taken down, asbestos questions will be addressed, correct?
That's correct. We will, Gus Ganem, Deputy Public Service Director. Yes, we will, if we have to. We'll do a 10-day notice to the state, and if need to be, we'll vet it out at that time.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to make
Mr. Ganem, I think there's been some misstatements provided. First of all, in regards to the bids, someone said that Able was the lowest bid, and I have them right in front of me, and Able is not the lowest bid. Is that correct?
Mr. St. Pierre and Council, I came here just for that reason after seeing this erroneous statement that this gentleman made is absolutely ridiculous. He's nothing but a liar. I'm not going to tell you that for a fact. You know, he promised that we have this thing down 30 days after our hearing, and he didn't do that.
Wait, was that August 25th, 2011?
It was.
All right, let's get the record straight.
And then he also said that he put the money in the guy that's suing him for frauding him on the steel said that he would have the money set escrow 30 days after our hearing, which he never did. And so this goes on and on. I don't know where he's getting this thing that I told him anything about anything, but I could tell you that this guy, he's bad news for the city. We need to clean this place up. And you know what? And he's going to keep on trying to throw fuel on the fire, and you know, the statement he makes, I might talk to my attorney about, but that's going to be my business with him.
I think, and you know, he talks about this litigation. I'm going to tell you, no litigation is not going to last less than 90 days. So that's out of the question. And 2010, and Mr. Green has confirmed 2010 and 2011 property taxes have not been paid. And I don't know, from the legal description and from the title work, Global Recycling LLC, and I guess that is Mr. Skorupski. Okay, and you know, as far as making a finding of fact, we have the resident or the people who have seen or on a daily basis that work across the street talk about it being a nuisance and eyesore. And I've had people, because it's across the street from my District 3, and we've heard the claimant, the owner, stand before us and say this is a nuisance and an eyesore. He readily admits it. And we know that it's been over 9 months now, approximately, that it's been in this particular condition. And there's nothing he's said that he can do anything. I don't think there's any question here. I think we've made findings of fact through the testimony, through our department heads, through the owner, and there is no other conclusion to reach that this is a nuisance and and it must be abated. So I think that's how simple it is. There's no other reason, and there's been given no excuse to have this nuisance continue. You know, of course, and let Mr. Ganem, so that these people know, why don't you give us a brief history of why it took so long to get to this point? And we have certain laws that we must follow, due process when you're taking people's process. We have hearings. And whatever we do here will be a lien against this property. You know, with the taxes and with the way property values are and whatever else is wrong with this property, it may be pretty tough to get our administrative costs back. But as a general rule, administrative costs come off the top, but still the taxes come first. Mr. Gannon, why don't you just clue
I can tell
everybody
you,
in?
and members of council, I've talked to each and every one of you about this site, and you know, our building department and our nuisance abatement division has done a great job at trying to get this site under control. No one should have to live and watch this, you know, develop over a couple of years. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's taken a couple of years, and you know, everybody, as you and the attorneys know here, they have remedies. They can go to court. They can sue each other. They can do whatever they want, but still, their litigation isn't our problem. Our problem is that it's a nuisance, it needs to be cleaned up. We need to get it done for our citizens and our residents. Our mayor wants it done. You want it done. The neighbors want it done. We need to get it done. And all this other stuff that he's thrown in there, I made a deal with this guy, and I told him to call. It's all, you know, just basically malarkey, to say a better word than that. But I can tell you, this is how he operates. He tries to confuse. He tries to throw more stuff on the fire. We started this nuisance abatement over 2 years ago. I mean, we tried to work with them. We tried to get people to come in and finish the job. He didn't do that. A couple more months. The person I talked to over at the department who was doing some of the asbestos abatement, I talked to the owner or one of the representatives over there, told me that they're waiting for this to go in foreclosure so they can buy the property. And they want to hold it up until June. I said, we're not waiting until June. Oh, if you hold it up to June, then we can do this deal. Oh, I'm not interested in that. That's not good for the city. It's not good for us, you know. So therefore, you know, all this other malarkey that's going on is all a way to try to stall the process until June so they can get what they want. I'm not interested in getting what they want. I know you're not interested in getting what they want. So I just hope that we get it abated. I hope we do a 21-day abatement on it so we can get this started. And they have their own remedies. They can go and they can finish their own remedies however they want.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Green.
would the maker of the motion amend that to 21 days?
I certainly would.
All right, so we have amendment to the motion,
I support that.
determination of a public nuisance, and it's
I
with,
support the amendment.
and what is it, to
Expedite.
expedite?
And
Expedite?
findings meet the criteria to expedite it in 21 days.
Expedite in 21 days, is that right?
By
Okay.
findings.
All right, I just wanted, because this may go to court, I just wanted the language to be clear. It's the first one I think I've heard in regards to expedite for 21 days. With that, and the amendment to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The record should reflect you passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, item 11.
Next item, item 11, is also a public hearing. Recommendation received from the Planning Commission to approve lot split and property combination regarding parcel ID numbers 13-32-351-001 and 13-32-351-003, and lots 1 through 7 of Supervisor's Plat of William Runwalt subdivision, parcel ID numbers 13-32351-004, 13-32-351-005, 13-32-351-006, and 13-32-351-007. Property located on the east side of Ryan Road, approximately 131 feet, or 0.5 feet north of Lark Avenue in Section 32, in consideration and adoption of a resolution approving said request. Ramo Management Company, Robert J. Tobin, petitioner.
This is a public hearing. We'll open this matter to the public. Mr. Tobin, please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Robert Tobin. I'm an architect. I represent Ramo Tool. What we're trying to do here, and I brought a board so you could see it. Oh, it's upside down. This is the parcel here. It's 1.5 acres. It's a large parcel on Ryan Road. This parcel, parcel B, is Ramo Tool. He wishes to split the property here and sell this property to this gentleman here who now leases the property. We attended the Board of Appeals meeting and were granted a waiver of 462 feet of parking, so now we're in compliance with the parking. Then we attended the Planning Commission meeting, and we requested that parcel A of 1.12 acres be split from the 0.04 acres over here. That would be parcel, I'm sorry, this 0.04 is 1.15. Mr. Ray Salerno, who owns the parcel B, Salerno Tool here, again, as I mentioned, wants the property to split so he can sell this parcel to this owner over here who now leases the property. I guess that's what I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you approve the lot split. Thank you very much.
Anybody else from the public would like to speak to this matter?
Members of Council, Henry Kristofczyk, District 3. Point of order. What district are these lots in?
This is a public hearing, Mr.
I'm asking the question, what district are those property located in?
We'll provide the answer after the public hearing. Go ahead, please.
Now remember this, and remember this well. You people are district representatives. If this is in a district, there's only one person can weigh in on that decision. That is the district person. You cannot cross boundaries like it is the last agenda item. You asked for a vote of the entire council. You mean tell me that Patrick Green can go over and make a decision in District 4? And also you made a policy on this last one, by giving more time. You're the chair. You represent District 3, and you have a conflict of interest up there. You can't do that. So when you take a vote, you don't need all 7 votes. If it belongs to Mr. Bacamino, he makes the motion, not Pat Green or Sadowski. It's a charter violation. The city attorney brought that to your attention here about two sessions ago. You have no rules on the district or at large. Whose responsibility is to get the rules? The secretary. Now, you people are waiting for a lawsuit to happen. 2 weeks ago, you abated a piece of property in Bacamino's district. You can't do that, sir. You don't represent them people. You are not at large. And Cecil St. Pierre, you're running this meeting as if it was at large. The voters 15 months ago said we want districts. What's happened to that? You people realize what you're doing? You're violating the charter every time you vote for somebody else's district. You have a boundary line. That's the oath you took. Cecil St. Pierre, I just wonder, you're violating not only the charter, but also the Open Meeting Act. I wonder if you can report that to the Attorney Grievance Board. That might come to be. You people must abide by the charter. You have district responsibilities only. Bacamino is the czar or the krul of District 5. And for you, St. Pierre, to dictate policy in his district is wrong. When it comes to a motion, nobody can make that motion except Bacamino. If he says, no, I don't want it, you guys can't override him. Or don't you guys understand that? You are district representatives, not at large. There's only 2 at large. That's Scott Stevens, and also Kelly Colugio. Now, Kelly Colugio should be sitting as the chair. You have her ostracized from the rest of the council. Tradition is your word. Remember a couple of meetings ago? Cecil St. Pierre, I'm speaking to you. You said tradition will have the audience participation at the end. Tradition is number 1 vote getter and number 2 vote getters get either the presidency or the secretary. The only time I see the switch in your time, Bussy, was when, St. Pierre, was when Bussy and Ann Klein switched. Remember that? Tradition has it that the number 1 and 2 sits in those seats. And you have a conflict of interest.
I'm going to ask you to speak to the issue. If you can't speak to the issue, I'm going to ask you to sit down. Let's talk about the issue.
Where's that rule say that, Mr. St. Pierre? It says a public hearing. Did you announce that before?
Please.
And also, it's another violation. You can't make rules until they're announced at the prior meeting. Now, don't make those rules.
You're really getting out of control, Mr. Kurchowski. I wish you to
The only thing I'm saying is that I want this council to abide by the charter. If not, we're going to take action. You people are district representatives. St. Pierre, there's only one person that you will ask on this next agenda item for approval. That's why I asked what district it is. Is it in Green's district? Or is it in Sadowski's district? That's the only person can weigh in on that. Do you understand that? Not you or anybody else. There's a boundary line there. He represents those people in that district and he speaks for them. And let's start running this meeting the way it should be.
That's right. Next person who would like to speak to this matter, please, public hearing. Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing. Oh, Ms. Springer, you want to? Sorry.
Karen Spranger, 7520 Hudson. I do recall this gentleman before the council regarding the plans of this particular property, and now we have another public hearing, and he put up this board, and because I'm in the audience, I could not see the map he was referring to, and trying to understand the plan that he went to the planning commission or the zoning and got approval, and he's within this guidelines of what the city allows. But as a citizen who lives in the city, I'm confused on what legal rights we have to say no. But if the districts make sense, then we go with what the law says, and we follow the charter and the rules that we live by. So when there's a conflict, put it aside, get the law straightened out and the procedures, and maybe let's review what a public hearing is all about. When there's objection or there's a review of the property that's in question and the plannings are not really clear and we question them, table it, bring it back, answer the questions, then you take action on it, and we can't say no. I don't understand public hearing.
Mr. Chair, the rules state that we have to stay germane to the topic, and the last two speakers have not stayed germane to the topic on this, and I'd just like to point that out. Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. They have an opportunity to speak. In regards to this is the way the rules are set up. We'll acknowledge that. We'll try to keep it within reason. Anybody else would like to speak on this matter?
Hi, my name is Joseph Hunt, resident of the City of Warren, District 2. Specifically because they've gone through the Planning Commission, they paid for the plan, the fees, they've gone through the 9-member commission. Specifically, I looked at the backup material. It looks like everything looks positive. Anytime that you can help somebody come together as far as all of the disparate pieces of property in a short amount of time, I recommend it. But I also agree with Mr. Krzysztof that basically we have 2 at-large council members, and basically this is in Section 32, which would make Mr. Bacamino the person who would approve this. I know that as far as, I'll stay germane to the topic, I would say approve this. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this matter? Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing at this time. Entertain motions from the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Bacamino. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll question the motion. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Proudly, yes.
Mr. St. Pierre? Yes. Passes unanimously. Item number 12A.
12A, correspondence from the mayor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Philbin.
Consideration and adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the State of Michigan 2011 Homeland Security Grant Program grant agreement for the Metropolitan Medical Response Systems Program, MMRS.
Motion to approve?
Motion by
Discussion.
Sadowski, support by Green. Discussion?
Discussion?
Mr.
Aye.
Sadowski, since he
Support
made
by-
the motion, Mr. Bacamino, I'm sorry.
Nope.
Mr. Sadowski.
Thank you. Skip, I thought you were coming down, that's why I was waiting.
Yeah, that's
Just quickly, the grant that we're talking about, in order to receive the grant, we have to put money basically into escrow. We would spend out of that account for the grant, and then we would receive the reimbursement from state or the Fed.
From the feds through the state.
Now, before we purchase that equipment, we would have to have that approved in order to receive our money back.
That's correct. All projects have to be pre-approved prior to the expenditure of one nickel, and the project has to come within the scope of the approved of the approved project.
Now, the way I read it, it sounds like if a terrorist attack happened, or I can't remember what the other term that they used, or the disaster had kicked in, we couldn't purchase the equipment beforehand. It would have to be after the event happened.
No, MMRS is designed to purchase or train personnel and purchase equipment to prepare for pre-hospital emergencies in the areas of mass casualty, mass disaster, things like pandemics, things that are beyond the local ability of any one entity. And it works with other communities and other grants to develop a plan that fills in those gaps and meets the proposed emergency, the types.
Okay, well, I'm glad that's the way it's written, because when I was reading the backup, boy, it sounded to me as if the federal government was requiring us to wait before the event happened, because I know that you're briefed regularly through various organizations on potential problems, and we prepare for those. What are we looking to purchase with this funds, and do these funds have to be expended within a certain time frame?
Yes, there are deadlines and within the various grant years for expenditures to be made by. We have a short presentation, about approximately 20 slides that'll answer most of your questions. And additionally, I wasn't prepared for that, but I had noticed on the council agenda that Councilman Bacamino had asked for a status update of all grants in the fire department. So I prepared this today, the handout that you were just given, which kind of lists what we've done in terms of expenditures of the grant, MMRS grant, as well as the AFG submissions, Assistance to Firefighter Grants, which is another council agenda item following this. So it seemed like a great opportunity to kind of hit everything in the fire department related to grants and what we're doing with the monies that have been allocated to us.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. I yield the floor.
Mr. Bacamino?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Sadowski. I agree totally with Mr. Sadowski, but the reason I put it later on the agenda, I'm glad because I have this now, and I'm very happy to see that in 2005, 6, and 7, basically, all the money was spent. A fraction was left last year. But the concern that came up was during an RFP meeting, and that's what I was looking at, these exact numbers, so we could determine. And the concern I have with the rest of council, and maybe I can just bring it up now, we can skip it later, is the two deadlines for 2008 and 2009 are approaching April 30th of this year. And that did concern me because the past trends are we have spent, even going back, as far as 2004 or 2003, most of that money. And I was concerned that since we have well over $300,000, $400,000 left, and only April 30th, somebody help me, what is today, the 28th, 29th? So
It's 28th.
2 months, 2 months to spend $400,000. I mean, I'm sure some people out there would love to have that chance to spend $400,000 on a shopping spree in 2 months, and then they could probably do that, but there's paperwork and there's hoops to jump through, as Mr. Vincent said. So I was concerned that that may not be enough time. Could you comment on that, or either one?
Dave and I talked as late as 6:30, 7 o'clock tonight about this very problem. It is very difficult. The federal government, given the current economic conditions going on across the country and the desire to curtail spending, has saw fit to enforce some of the deadlines that previously had not been an issue. And therefore, they are very reluctant to grant any grant extensions, and have also begun the process across the country of recapturing allocated dollars to various federal grant programming. But we are confident that we're going to be able to make a significant dent in our allocation. And we've got some ideas that, yes, we're going to have to be very diligent. Yes, we're going to have to cram about 18 months of planning into about 2 months. And we've spent a lot of time meeting with partners across the 2 North region and within our department, also to try and develop a plan that allows us to spend this, not just spend the money, but to spend the money in the most economical and get the most bang for our buck. Yes, we could just go out and spend it, but one of my goals as fire chief, fire commissioner, has always had 2 goals actually. One was to stay off CNN, which I failed at miserably, and the second one was not to be indicted on federal charges, and that one I don't plan to fail at. And misappropriation of federal dollars is high on their list of things that you can go to federal prison for, and I'm not going there. So we're going to do what we have to do to ensure that we follow the rules, get the most bang for not only the citizens of Warren and the region of southeastern Michigan, but the entire nation, because this is a federal grant award.
Exactly. I would never, I know we'd never even think about that. We're trying to get the money that is entitled to us because of the hard work for getting this grant. It is there. I understand the deadlines are imposed, just like deadlines for nuisance abatements too, though if they're not met, we have to proceed forward. I know I talked to Councilman Stevens about great ideas he had, his expertise with vehicles and things like that. I just don't want to see us come back in April and say, because of the hoops and the red tape, we're going to lose X hundred thousands of dollars. I would rather, if we have to work all night, if we have to, we hired a grant writer for this reason. I know that we didn't anticipate the federal government cracking down the deadlines, but the deadlines were there. Am I correct in that? The deadlines were there, they just never enforced them before.
Correct.
That's like me driving down the freeway, speeding, saying I never got a ticket before. The speed limit's there, but I've never been enforced before.
Absolutely.
So that troubles me now. We do have a grant writer, and I think you're doing a great job, Mr. Vincent. Yes, the noose is tightened around our necks because of the feds are now enforcing this, but we did know that that deadline was in place. And
yes.
$400,000 in these tough times is a very large chunk of money. If it was the, 3 years ago, $13,000 left over, I wouldn't even have put an agenda item on there. If we can't spend $13,000 out of millions, fine, so be it. But like I said, I know a lot of people that could go probably to the mall right now and have a lot of fun spending 400 grand. It isn't that easy to the audience, people listening. It is difficult. It is a lot of work. I'll give you credit.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't speak for the rest of the council. Maybe I do, but that's why it's later on the later agenda. And hopefully, it'll be short at that time because I just wanted to report and I wanted to know, for the record, we do have these deadlines, and that money is ours. We're entitled to it, and I want to see it spent. And that's all I'm going to say. Hopefully, we'll find a way. But I know there's a lot of interested council members, not just Mr. Stevens, that have great ideas. I know there are boundaries and issues with any grant. We talked about CDBG last night, and there's all kinds of different rules. People think, oh, that money, you can just spend it. No, there are the audience that's watching. There's very tight, strict rules, things you can and cannot expend. Mr. Zalski mentioned either FEMA or terrorist or operations or mass casualty operations. There's all kinds of stuff. There's rules for that. And but I know we have the intelligence and the capability personnel to get this done. I have the confidence in Mr. Vincent and yourself, and also the rest of the council. If you need suggestions, though, I do know I've already talked to a lot of council, and they have great ideas. I just don't know if they're applicable to this. So if you need help, if you think we need to have a meeting of the whole and bring your ideas to us, we'd be more than happy to. At least I think we'd be happy to listen to them and walk you through it, just like we did yesterday with the grants from CDBG and NSP and Home and HOPWA and all that other stuff from the other departments.
Let me just reiterate this. We have been planning to spend this money over approximately 18 months, and we are now condensed this into a couple month period. Rest assured that we're open to ideas and suggestions always, but rest assured that we put a lot of thought into how we're going to spend this money, and there are several projects that are coming forward very quickly, that are going to be fast-tracked to meet these deadlines that are imposed.
I can totally relate to you. Both my children were premature. We thought it was going to take 9 months, and you know what? They decided to come to this world earlier, and you know what? We had to make a lot of adjustments and be prepared, and thank God they were healthy and everything, but life does that to you sometimes, Commissioner, and for $400,000, we have to find a way. At least that's my thought. I know it's tough. I just think we have to find a way. I can't take excuses on that. Thank you.
We'll get it done.
Any further discussion?
Mr. President.
Ms. Clegio.
Yeah, good evening, Commissioner. Good evening. Yeah, I'm sure that you as a commissioner in your department, you know what needs you have the best, and I'm sure your list is put together, and now that you know this deadline's here, you know, I look forward to seeing every council agenda, things coming across the table and, you know, what we can do to help you, but I'm sure even without our input on it, I can only imagine that you have, you know, a wish list of things that you guys could use that money for very quickly. And now that you know the time is there, I'm sure it'll, you know, congratulations with this, and, you know, I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll question a motion. Mr. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino.
Yes.
Ms. Clegio.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item passed unanimously. Next item.
Item 12B, request to approve an increase in budgeted revenues and appropriations in the amount of $510,800 and an additional appropriation of funds in the amount of $127,700, budget of the fire department to account for receipt of a federal grant and the city's match per the terms of the grant, budget of the fire department, and consideration and adoption of a resolution approving said request.
Motion to approve.
Support. Motion by Warner, support by Green. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Clegio?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Yes, item passed unanimously. Item C.
Item 12C, request of an appointment of one council representative to participate in the RFP committee for fire equipment.
Any volunteers?
I would like to nominate Robert Bacamino.
Motion by Warner. Support? Support by Green. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You want discussion? Congratulations.
I just want to thank Mr. Warner for that nomination, and I appreciate it, Mr. Green, for your support, and the rest of the council, so I accept it.
All our confidence is in you, Mr.
For the
Bacamino.
record, though, do I get to say yes or no? If you guys appoint, I was
No.
just curious, if you guys appoint me, am I on it no matter what?
Well, you said aye, so we figured you're all in favor of it.
Because you called the vote before I had a chance to speak, but I do accept it, and thank you for the unanimous support.
Item 12B.
Thank you.
Or D, request for the appointment of one council representative to participate in the RFP committee for the services of a developer for the NSP3 rehab resale activity.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sadowski?
I would nominate Council Secretary Scott Stevens for that.
Support.
Sadowski makes nomination for Stevens, support by Werner. Is there any discussion?
I would accept that nomination.
Okay. If it doesn't matter, no. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passed unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you.
Item E.
Item E, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving bid and contract ITB-W-8244 with A Emergency Plumbing and Sewer Services, LLC, DBA A Emergency Plumbing and Excavating Services, LLC, for the demolition of 8716 Hudson NSP3 demolition activity project in the total amount of $10,260 and authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute said agreement.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Bacamino.
Support.
Support by Mr. Sadowski. Any discussion? We'll question the motion. Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre? Yes. Item passed unanimously. Item F.
Item 12F, consideration and adoption of a resolution approving change order number 1 and final with decreases the contract amount by $13,200 or $623.95 with Pipeline Management Incorporated TV-09-526 2009-2010 annual sewer cleaning and televising, and authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute said change order.
Motion approved.
Motion by Green.
Support.
Support by Werner. Any discussion? It should be noted that this is a decrease in the contract amount by $13,623. We don't see these a lot, but it's good to see them. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Werner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Colegio?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item passed unanimously. Item 13A.
Item 13A, Thomas Banya, Freedom of Information Act appeal. Appeal of FOIA denial for one handwriting, typewriting, printing, photostating, photographing, photocopying, email, and any other means of recording stating and/or implying the name, entity, or similar of the possible private investor, public investor, or similar for the Walmart, Tech Plaza property or similar.
Are there any motions?
Mr. Chair.
Maybe we talked to Judge Bearden. Was there a status? Anyway.
I have a motion.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Stevens.
I make a motion to affirm the denial for the reasons stated in the denial, that the records do not exist.
Is there any support? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. On item 13B.
Item 13B was for E, request of the Water Division for approval to award a blanket contract for a one-year period for Vector sewer cleaning equipment and repair to the sole bidder, Jack Doheny Supplies Incorporated, for genuine OEM parts estimated at $22,500 and factory authorized repair services estimated at $1,950 for an estimated annual grand total not to exceed $24,450. Motion to approve.
Motion by Stevens. Any support?
Support with discussion.
Is there support?
Discussion.
Mr. Bacamino, support? He supported it. Discussion, Mr. Bacamino.
The reason I just asked for this, it was brought to my attention again, I want to thank Councilwoman Ms. Collegio. And just a little language difference, but I know there's the legalese here, might matter, may not. I think on their agenda item, it says not to exceed $24,450, but in the resolution here, Ms. Collegio, it says estimated amount, $24,450. Can we, would you mind just put it not to exceed in there? We include that in the motion?
Well, in regards to the motion, Mr. Stevens made it. I think he has some information for you.
It does, as you see in the last sentence, annual grand total not to exceed $24,400.
That's on our agenda.
That's, yes, and that is the official resolution.
That is the official, not the seal with the city clerk?
If you remember, I think it was last year sometime, this council agreed to make that the policy so that it's not an estimate at this point. That is the maximum, and that's what we are saying.
All right, because I was confused. I did see that seal of the clerk's office on the resolution, but then, so the agenda does have precedent over.
And that will be the maximum that they'll be able to.
I stand corrected. Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
As a general rule, council rules by its resolutions, not by whatever language you may see on the letterhead. Whatever the resolution is, that's what controls. This is our resolution not to exceed $24,500.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? In regards to the motion, Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Bacamino?
Yes.
Ms. Collegio?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Mr. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. St. Pierre, yes. Item passed unanimously. Next item.
Item 13C was for G.
Mr.
hold-
Secretary, 4G, during the consent agenda, I was just noting to you that it should be on the consent agenda, but you placed it on the
It was
regular.
added to the consent agenda, 4G was.
Correct.
Yes. So there's no reason to go in.
There's no reason, okay, I stand corrected.
Just a typo.
Yep, thank you.
Well, next.
So the next item will be the council calendar of pending matters
Oh, don't we go to?
and audience participation.
Is there a package?
We need to get him
I know. Tony Police, I just want to indicate that, I'll say this right now, members of the audience wishing to address council may do so by first completing the form provided and handing it to the court reporter or to Mr. Bacamino. Speakers are reminded they have 3 minutes to address the council, and that when the timer sounds or asked by the chairman, they must conclude their comments. And speakers are further reminded to please state your name and place of residence for the record, and that council members are prohibited from answering questions or commenting during audience participation. And Mr. Police, you have the floor.
Are you done?
Yes.
Tony Police, District 2. I have a bunch of articles that I took from the paper, I cut out, got nothing else to do, took a pair of scissors and cut them out. And I'd like to talk about some of them. That's, excuse me, I thought I had it all lined up, but I guess I didn't. I want to go first for the court. I don't know this Watson, don't really care if he's got hurt because he's a convict anyhow, so that's not the point. The point is this. We're going to have a major thing happen in that courthouse if we don't do something about it. Now, Mr. Fouts wants to use that money for this, that, and whatever. What's the sense of fixing the roof when you're flooding the bottom, or the electrician is not working, or anything? Believe me, you're going to have a major problem in that courthouse. And the other part of that courthouse thing is at the bottom of this, Mr. Curtis asked for $40 that would be used to document structural problems. It was refused by the administration. Somebody got $40 in their pocket? I know it probably costs more than that because I know the type of camera he wants to get. But it's amazing how we can spend money after money after money here, there, and wherever, and we can't give a guy. I understand why you don't want to give him that money for the camera, or you don't want him to have the camera, because then he's going to have pictures in black and white to show that the structural damage is more than just a token. Kelly, your name should never been brought up in this thing in the front page of that paper. I'm sorry for you. Your husband will defend himself and take care of it and everything, but you had nothing to do with that situation, so I don't know why your name was brought up, and I apologize for the mayor. Oh, by the way, I'm glad we finally got a judge with enough, well, you know what, to do something about the Johns. They brought it on themselves. They went way past the variance and everything, so whatever happened to them and over there, they really brought it on themselves. But I'm glad to see that this judge finally put the clamp on it. Hopefully, that will be the end of the John era. I don't know if it will or not, but hopefully it will. Instead of getting more stores and stuff in the Tech Center Plaza, we've lost another one. The furniture store is now gone. Apparently Forbes, the magazine.
Please, it's over 3 minutes. Could you wrap up your comments? It's 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
You didn't show me the minute.
All right.
So.
I thought you complained
you're
about. You're right. Okay, I'll give you 1 minute. Go ahead, 1 minute.
Well, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
But you did not show it.
Go ahead, 1 minute.
Forbes was saying something about the city of Warren is under. Where the heck are you? One of the America's most miserable cities. Guess what? I agree with him. It's turning out to be a miserable city. I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's clean, as they say, and everything else. Now, everybody knows that but I also mentioned after the election that Mr. Fouts is my mayor, and I hope he is my mayor, even though I did not vote for him. I still consider him my mayor. And I got to tell you, people are coming up to me and saying, why do you go? And I'm starting to agree with them, I'll be honest with you. Come here, I have to ask for a ride, and I've been thankful that I do get a ride and everything. On a cheerful note, Megan O'Brien, my girlfriend that works for the city, has got an opportunity to go and become get a better thing for her future in this, I think it's Washington Township, even though she still will be coming back once in a while. And I think she deserves a hand from the people that see her on. She does a lot of work around here, and she's still going to do something, but she cannot be on camera anymore because of the contract with Washington. You go, girl.
Thank you, Mr. Police. The next person is Joseph Hunt.
Good evening, Council. My name is Joseph Hunt, 8306 Stanley, District 2. I live one block south of 12 and Van Dyke's vacant Walmart. This evening, Tomas, his FOIA was denied based upon that no records exist. I went to the DDA meeting in September of 2011 this year, and there was a long conversation that was recorded in the minutes that basically there is an investor who is interested in the Walmart property. And this is really where, when the research is done by the legal department, and then it goes to a custodian of records, the real question is how much research do they actually do before we go through the process of coming before the council and asking you to reconsider based upon facts within the backup material. I happen to have several FOIA denials that I would like to submit to the council secretary before the next meeting. And the real deal comes down to is on whether or not any of this backup material regarding the denied FOIAs is actually reviewed. In essence, Mr. Earl even identified that the person who's going to invest into Walmart is a very frugal person and he doesn't throw his money away wildly. The idea is to be at a meeting where they talked about the investor, and I can almost guess who the investor is because he invested money into the road millage fund, and that went through. However, the Downtown Development Authority, that's pretty much predominantly District 2, and specifically I've been talking about the vacant Walmart for about 2 years. The vacant Walmart is basically going to become more vacant. I understand that the Old Country Buffet will be leaving. That's probably in the short term. My denied FOIAs, the one thing about the denied FOIA was the looking for the signed contract between the City of Warren and the Aclara company, who is the owner of the water meter beeper device. This was denied because no record exists. However, there has to have been a contract between the City of Warren and Aclara because we're spending $5 million through the vendor. The idea is that it might exist, but however, I'm not too certain who looked. The other FOIA that I'll be bringing up, thank you, sir. The other FOIA that I'll be appealing is basically any document, studies, records, or calculation or interoffice memoranda specific to the individual property owner assessment choice 2 that was mailed from the Margaret Court Publishing House prior to the election. Basically, it was upon this August 9th tape that Darnetta Desky, the acting city engineer, said, oh, we've done some studies, and this is where choice 2 comes from. The idea that I have been denied because of the idea it's not considered a public record, I'll have to look into the FOIA laws, but the idea is that I do not believe in submitting FOIAs to the city that they're actually being reviewed to find out if the records exist. I looked for the Publication and Mailing Commission list and minutes, and I looked for the Communication Commission list and minutes, and they don't exist because we don't have these two commissions. I believe that we should start looking at the charter, and there's plenty enough people in the city that can fill both of these commissions. I'll submit an application if this council all of a sudden brings back these two important commissions. Thank you.
Henry Krzyzewski, if I pronounce that correctly.
Members of Council, Henry Krzyzewski. When I came in and handed this form, I did what this form said. It says over here, complete the form, provide it and hand it to the Cub reporter. And somebody yelled out, you don't belong on the stage. Well, how can I hand this to the Cub reporter? Something is wrong. People don't even follow your own rules. Item 11, last week's agenda. A nuisance at 11203 Hudson. You had a resident from District 5 come up here and said he didn't want that place tore down. It could be salvaged. After much discussion, Councilman Green made the motion to abate that house, and Councilman Green is in District 1. And of course, Sadowski seconded the motion, and he's in District 2. You know what they're doing to you, Bacamino? Making a fool out of you. They're not even respecting you for your own territory. It's a charter violation, and the guy that violated it was the president, so-called president. I'm going to read something to you, St. Pierre. It's under Section 2.6, penalties for violations of the Charter. Any person found guilty of an act constituting a violation of this charter may be punished by a fine which, in addition to court costs charged to him, not the city, shall not exceed $500 or imprisonment for not more than 90 days, or both. Such fine may and imprisonment in the direction of the court. Imprisonment for violation of this charter may be in the city or the county jail or a workhouse of the state, which is authorized by law to receive prisoners of the city. This section shall not operate to limit or prejudice the power to remove officers for violating the charter or discharge employees as provided in this charter. All it takes, Mr. St. Pierre, is a letter to the city attorney. The city attorney is a guardian of the charter. And he warned his council, you don't have any rules. And whose fault is that? Council secretary. Prior to that, 15 months ago when this was passed, Sadowski was the secretary. Why didn't he write the rules and get the rules going? I suggest this. Put $10,000 in your budget and hire a municipal lawyer that deals and has the expertise in districting. Because you people don't understand what districting is. And I'm going to be dogging you all the time, Mr. St. Pierre.
Your 3 minutes are up. You can please wrap up.
I can't understand a word you said.
3 minutes are up.
You didn't give me my 1 minute
Yes,
warning.
I did. I gave you the 1 minute.
You did not.
Hey, witnesses are here. Yes, he did. You
That's
can't-
another lie you're saying.
You better put your glasses on while you're talking. So let's wrap it up, and thank you very much.
I
We'll hear
say
from the next
this,
person.
in the next budget, put in 10 grand and hire attorney, municipal attorney. And I will be dogging you until you resign,
Well,
Cecil.
thank you. It's good to see you again. And Joseph Skorupski. No, Karen Spring, you've got 3 more.
Joseph Skorupski, property owner, 21601 Hoover Road. I'd like to address Mr. Scott Stevens on his comment about how hard I was not working with a sledgehammer and a torch for 20 minutes. In regard to that, which he probably doesn't have the skills for, is that there's a loader on site, which I own, that I purchased to clean up somebody else's mess. If that loader hits that beam that's 4 feet in the ground, ruins my equipment. So if it took me 20 minutes or 2 hours, I'm protecting my investment. In regard to the city that you just told, that I was merely wasting my time is the way it came off, I would see. Another matter I'd like to bring up to the city council is that this is also in federal court. There are 7 individuals, not only personal, but companies, who are part of this litigation. If so being, I don't understand what 21 days to expedite means, but since I haven't been notified that it went up for bid, I've been in this building 11 years. There's 20 years of my life of personal property in the existing structure. Somebody just going to come in, kick the door in with their boot, throw my stuff in the yard, and continue the demolition? I would hope that the city finds time to take a minute and properly notify me what's about to happen so that I can further go on with my life and quit wasting my time at torching beams down so I don't ruin my equipment. Thank you for your time.
Karen Springer?
Karen Spranger, 7520 Hudson, Warren, Michigan. Again, accountability, procedures, rules, common law, constitution law. The judge knows constitutional law. We have an attorney that knows law. But we don't follow courtesy and respect to each other. Again, I don't make the rules. procedures of our bylaws and Constitution does. If they changed, then as a citizen, please notify me. We are here to live in a safe environment, a secure environment. That's why we trust the city. But when we break our trust, how do we mend it? In what direction do we go? East, south, north, or west? When we are confused, and you guys are confused, where is this road leading us? A battle in court? A battle of wits? Who has the best intelligence? Who's smarter than the smarter person here? Or who makes the best, reasonable, right decisions that benefits everybody concerned? That's being reasonable. I seem to see that we've lost it in the way we act with each other, the way we choose our words, our intent in our speeches. And yes, when you hold that paper up, we don't understand 30 minutes or another minute, because I don't go and tap and talk about it. But I do respect each other when we can talk in a civil manner, and when people are out of line, even when the council people are out of line. You obey the rules as well as we obey the rules. Freedom of speech is my constitutional right. I don't expect you to agree with my philosophy in life, because that's my choice, or the religion I choose to follow. But the Fourth Amendment is everybody's right to be secure in their home. And I hope at this Committee of the Whole, don't treat it like it was at the last Committee of the Whole, because our input didn't make a difference.
Thank you, Ms. Spranger. Chris Pasternak?
Hope my time starts after I say my name and everything. Chris Pasternak, 8304 Hupp Avenue, District 5. First thing I'd like to say is commend Mr. Police here. Certain council members think that he shows the utmost respect and is the proper way to address this council every time. I think that's wrong to single out a single person like that, but whatever. You know what I think we should put in over at that Walmart is an oil change station. Maybe Penske could help us with that. Security procedures. I love these authorized personnel signs all over the place. It's hilarious. You had a meeting yesterday in a place that said authorized personnel only. How am I supposed to enter? Am I authorized personnel? That's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Take a guess what's on every single door outside of this building right now. Authorized personnel only. Am I not allowed to come into city council chambers anymore? Into the auditorium and speak? It says authorized personnel. Who is that? Well, if I'm allowed in here, I guess I'm allowed on the stage because I must be authorized personnel to come in. You need to revise your security procedures and double check them. Do you have a bomb-sniffing dog come through to make sure that the place is safe and clean and clear? Double check your security procedures. I think you have some issues there. Double dipping. I brought this up over at the county. We need to make sure that people who receive a pension and retirement from city government aren't brought back in, okay? I don't have an issue with them, but there's a lot of unemployed people that could have their jobs. These people are already receiving money and a pension and taking hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from the city, and yet we bring them back and give them another job. So let's let them make $200,000 a year. No issue there. FOIA appeals. You're asked to attend, but you never get the opportunity to speak. How can you make a decision when you only see one side of the issue? And one side that says, hey, the document exists, but it's not public. It's not public, but it's mentioned in a DDA meeting. It's mentioned in multiple newspapers, on television, about a billionaire investor. We, the citizens, have every right to know who that billionaire investor is who wants to invest in our city, and why the plan fell through, and why the mayor couldn't come through with it. Are the bonds for the DDA going to be paid, or are we going to go in default? Looks like the DDA is going to have a little shortfall. We might want to look into that before another tax or millage is levied on this city. We're paying enough taxes, and you're going to want to levy some more. Well, on a good note, we're going to save money. Why? We better not be missing any salt because we haven't used a lot this year. And one last thing. Councilman Bacamino, I was very offended when I heard some comments you had made after a council meeting last week, saying that big men scare small women. Are you discriminating against me because I'm big? I am offended. No, I'm sorry.
Well,
That's
end
not
it right
right.
there. 3 minutes are up. Next person, to Mr. Thomas Banya.
And it's on record.
Good evening, Council. Tomas Banya, resident of District 2. I had a FOIA appeal on the agenda tonight. Did not get the opportunity to speak. I asked yesterday if I could represent my best interest. I guess my best interest is not to say anything at all, according to this council. Sorry, Mr. Bacamino, I can't be like Mr. Tony Police this evening. I didn't bring any newspaper clippings. The only thing I'm going to comment on what Mr. Pasternak just referenced is the individual you were referencing could have made a lot of very, very mean remarks towards you. But they chose not to. But instead you decide to berate that individual and tell them to go have a life, go get a life. I don't think that's right. But anyway, getting back to the FOIA appeal here. It's funny that you guys, first of all, didn't look at anything I provided, but secondly, you deny it because it doesn't exist. Yet the person sitting right next to you sent me an email today saying it does exist, just that it's not considered a public record. But Mr. Puzzuoli, when he sent in his backup material, says there is no record, period. So which one is it? Doesn't make any sense at all when two attorneys have different opinions, especially when they're from the same city. In regards to where I think that record exists, it's in a certain person's notebook. And if you read the backup material that I provided to you this evening, you will see why that is a public record. And Mr. Biernat and fellow members of council, you have to provide a reasoning for the denial. You can't just say, I'm denying, oh well. Doesn't work that way. What else was I going to say here? The first speaker that came up here, you said, Mr. St. Pierre, that they were at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. They were not at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. I was timing them. I don't know how you made that one up. Thank you very much. Next thing I've got here. Doing a little research on how much we spend on copying and printing and whatnot in the city of Warren and how it relates to FOIA requests. In the city attorney's office, they have a Rico Officio MP 5001. The ink, the original manufacturer's ink for that printer costs $70 for 30,000 pages. That's 0.02 cents per page. When I went to the county commissioner, they told me we could print this 100-page packet for 10 cents. I'm not surprised at all, because you buy the compatible ink, it's only 0.1 cent per page. Invest in the technology. If you truly want to promote transparency and reduce paper, invest in the technology and stop dicking around with FOIAs. My last statement.
We have to watch the language, but
my last statement will be, as some of you guys may know, and I'm surprised no one brought this up, there was a shooting at a high school in Chardon, Ohio. I happened to be there a week and a half ago, so it actually touches me a little bit regarding the situation. Surprised no one called a moment of silence, so at this time, I will ask for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Gloria Sanker.
Good evening, Council. Have you heard the state of California offers teens free condoms? California teens can now order free condoms by mail through a state government program to use 12 to 19 years of age. The condoms will be sent in a plain envelope so that the parents are not aware that the children are getting these free compliments of the United States government and paid by us, the taxpayers. Someone said, what is morally wrong cannot be politically good, but the government is not interested in the morals of the country. So, what is the result of free contraceptive pills for females and free condoms for males? Not that any one of these cannot be gotten any day of the week at the local drugstore, but with government involved, we, the taxpayers, now have to pay for everyone's sex choices, whether they are sound or unsound. That's one thing to be upset about. But another is that the government is taking away the parents' rights. All of this is being done without parents' consent. The youth can even go online and reorder condoms up to once a month. Your 12-year-old child can now call a number or go online and order free condoms and lube. This is our government giving condoms and abortions to 12-year-olds without the knowledge of parents. Why should anybody trust a government that sexualizes our kids, then aborts the babies? All of this with tax dollars for the good of society, they say. Oh, and I bet you didn't know that they do not check the age of the caller of the person ordering the free condoms and lube. A 10-year-old or a 40-year-old can get these freebies. Freebies? Maybe for them, not the taxpayer. They just keep adding up the national debt any way they can. While a parent can say no to vaccines for his child, he doesn't have the authority to stop a child from getting an abortion or from being promiscuous because the government is issuing free condoms. None of this makes any sense. Law and morality should agree. What happened to the sanctity of life theory? So now, with free birth control pills and free condoms, there will be more trial and error with sex that will lead to more abortions, and to say nothing about the distraction of learning. Oh, is that what they're supposed to be doing in school? An abortion is not something easy to forget. It's unfair to young people to give them this enticement and not to tell them the facts about their lack of responsibility. I have a half a second. That leads to so much hurt, pain, and even breast cancer, not to mention all the other complications. So I ask everybody to please register, get involved in this election in November to stop government intrusion on our lives, in our bedrooms, and on our 12-year-old children. Thank you.
Thank you. Item council calendar pending matters, so acknowledged. We'll go to 16A. Mr. Secretary.
16A, Councilwoman Kelly, excuse me, Kelly Clegio, in rate, Great Lakes Electronics Recycling.
Yes. Over the past week, I received a call from a group of residents that live in the area where Great Lakes Recycling was doing their business, and they had some concerns regarding if they were in their variance for the zoning that was given for them. I went down there and I had some concerns myself, and they asked me when I went down there, is there a way that they as residents could address council? And I told them that I would put it on the council agenda, and I believe we have 3 of them here tonight. They'd like to come forward and just address council, and I think they'd like to maybe read a letter into the council minutes. So if we could do that.
Motion to suspend the rules?
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good evening, council members. My name is Warren Smith, and I live at 7004 Ford. And I put together this letter in February 2nd dealing with GLE's facility on Sherwood. It says, we are the residents of South Warren and are very upset about the situation of the GLE scrapyard on Sherwood Road. When they first moved here, it was supposed to be an electronics recycling scrapyard, computers, monitors, etc. It has now turned into a full-fledged dump. There's mountains of debris, refrigerators, metal, rocks, semi-trailers, which has become an eyesore to our community. The scrapyard is located next to Groesbeck Park, where our children play. They say they open up at 8 a.m., but some days they are making noise at 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning, dropping containers, scraping them along the ground. They're dropping large rocks and containers that shake mine and many other residents' houses. We've got residences where pictures have fallen off the walls. I'm also concerned about the pipes in the ground. If they're dropping them that hard, you know, what's it doing to the piping in the ground? The noise is intolerable. I have been in the community for 14 years, and many other residents have been here much longer. Our community is going through some changes, but we cannot tolerate the noise, the vibrations, and the eyesore of the business establishment. We're requesting the shutdown, the removal, the cleanup of the property. On January 31st, 2012, there was a fire which spread a lot of toxic smoke and debris in the air. My granddaughter was visiting. At the time we were running her bath, brown water started coming out of the faucet at the time the firefighters were trying to put the fire out. We are proud to be residents of South Warren and would like to be appreciated like all the residents of Warren. I don't think the Mayor Faust or any other council person will tolerate the activity in their neighborhood, so why should we tolerate it? I hope this matter can resolve with expedience for our neighborhood and children's survival. We have a scheduled meeting with City Hall tomorrow, either at the third floor conference room or the second floor conference room at 3 o'clock, February 29th. And anyone that would like to attend to voice their opinions, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President?
Is there any other,
Would any-
want to hear
yeah.
all the residents, and then we can
Yep.
discuss?
That's what I was gonna do. Yep.
I should speak to it.
My name is Mary Nairn. I live at 6799 Topher. And Warren covered the situation quite well. My main concern when it grew and grew and grew as a mess, is that it's butted right against the city park, Groesbeck. And this variance that they were supposed to be following was passed in January of '09. And it's not contained within the buildings at all. So we need it fixed, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, just a request from the recorder. We couldn't hear her name. The audience, could you please be quiet when they're saying their names? It was very difficult. Front row was, yeah. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this? If not, Ms. Oh.
Yes, my name's James Ellison. I live at 6775 Ford. I've been living in this place about 22 years, and this scrap metal shop has caused the noise, the debris, the rodents, the dust, the smell, the noise since they've been there. And it's been nonstop, 6 o'clock in the morning. You don't even have to look at your alarm clock. You hear the dumpsters slamming on the ground, the metal slamming in them dumpsters, the cranes slamming the dumpsters back and forth, all the scrap metal, the traffic that runs through our neighborhoods, and it's unbearable. And it's right next to Groesbeck Park. They are actually sweeping this parking lot, all the metal debris and every kind of smell, any kind of scrap, anything is dust, and they sweep that parking lot and it flies across that park and will actually cloud the park out to where you can't even see the other side. It is awful. And I've been living in this place for a long time. And it's gotten so bad to where it is actually cracking the mortar in my home. From them slamming them dumpsters and the metal hitting that ground and them cranes and them front end loaders all day long, 6 o'clock in the morning to 6, 7 in the evening. It is slamming, bamming, booming all day, non-constant. 7 days a week. And I'm telling you, the kids can't even not play. I mean, if they play on that little entertainment center or little fun center they got over there, or even the police officers used to play baseball. They quit playing baseball over there now because of the metal and the smell and the noise. They can't even hear each other talk on the baseball field for the noise and the debris and the smell and the stink. Constant, nonstop. And something's got to be done with it. I mean, before it used to be a heat treat place, it used to be smoke before. Now we got the dust, the smell, the slam, the damaging of all of our homes. I mean, it's actually cracking the concrete inside my home. The foundation is actually cracking across my front porch. And something's got to be done with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Reverend David Casbo. I'm the pastor of the church at 22021 Memphis Road. Our property joins with that property there. And I just wanted to say I'm not sure why this is coming up now, but when we came there 14 years ago, we assessed the situation. We're buying this property here next to, it's an industrial area, and we've heard the clanking noise for this time, but I don't know. Anyway, it hasn't broken our cement, and our kids are playing out there every Sunday, and I don't see any difference over the last 14 years. Things getting worse or better or anything. So that's all I can say. I don't know why. I don't see more of a nuisance now than it was before. I don't know who's come and gone over the years either over there. I guess there's some noise. We should come be at the meeting tomorrow. We can talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do they work on Sundays?
Through the chair, may I address
Wait, is there anybody else that'd like to speak to this matter? All right, then we're finished with the people speaking. We'll bring it to the council to take action and hear from the judge and Ms. Collegio. Thank you for coming out tonight, expressing your opinions.
Thank you. I think it's important to point out that the mayor is acutely aware of the citizens' concerns, and his administration is attentive to this matter. However, because of the complexity or the complexities involved, it is very important that the citizens come forward and express themselves and specifically identify their concerns. Because I think the three things that have to be done if we're going to manage this situation and address the issues is we must identify the complaints. So we hope that they will be comprehensive in nature. We must determine the scope and nature of the problem, and then search for meaningful and appropriate solutions. I would like to say that the administration has been involved to date in this matter. It began with a status meeting with Nathan Zach, the owner, on February 29, 2012. Again, the administration, through Ron Worth, the planning director and zoning administrator Lynn Martin, as well as attorney from our office, Nancy Cooper Green, met with the owner again on January 31st. This property has been monitored continually since that time, and extensive photographs have been taken of the property in the various stages that it was found in. As I said, the matter is complicated in that there have been a number of actions taken in regard to this property, beginning with the request for secondhand goods business within 500 feet of residential, which was granted back on January 14, 2009 by the ZBA. And it goes on to many other aspects involving the Warren, City of Warren Code of Ordinances. So I want to thank the citizens for coming forward and expressing themselves, and I want you to rest assured that the administration will do everything possible to resolve this in a favorable manner. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you. And Mr.
Ms.
President,
Collegio?
yes, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge. I would just like to also add, I know when I went out to speak with the residents that one of the residents mentioned a letter that they had written and they had sent in, which I know I hadn't seen, and I spoke to a couple other council people and they hadn't seen. So I just want to make sure that the residents know that until I received that phone call, there was no letter that I just was sitting on and not coming out, and I don't think the other council as well. What I would request through this is, because the residents did sign a letter and send it to the ZBA, I'm just curious to know, since council oversees and points to the ZBA, if a letter comes in to the ZBA from, residents, can we receive a copy of that in a timely manner and, that type of thing? Thank you.
Mr. President.
Is that it? Are we going on to the next?
No, one more.
Oh, Mr. Bacamino.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank the residents for coming and being patient, waiting for their chance to put their concerns on record. I look forward to hearing more comments tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And I know we had this discussion earlier about a property over that was in disarray for over almost 3 years. We had 2 citizens show up, complain about they have to look at it every day at work. And unfortunately, it's tough. The legalese, as you heard our judge say, is incredible. But as I said earlier to a resident, though, I think I'd rather take the worst democracy over the best dictatorship. It's slow. I understand that. I apologize for that slowness, but I do think, in the end, as in the previous case, what was best did transpire. I'm sorry it took for 2.5 or 3 years for that other case, and I apologize now for the length of it, but it is moving, and thanks to your diligence, contacting council members. I know other council people have gone down there and driven by. We have the scope of the situation now, and I think it's important to point out for everyone that democracy starts not up here, but right there with the citizens, and I appreciate you being patient. You've shown that, and you've done it with respect and courtesy, too. So thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Bring as many people as you can. Again, as the judge said, be specific, bring documentation. That will all help. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Werner?
Real quick, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to echo Mr. Bacamino's statement, I appreciate the residents coming out. I've had to address a couple of issues regarding a couple other businesses in that area. Patience and diligence do work. We have our zoning inspectors going out there. One business in particular had a lot of garbage and junk in the back of their business, and that was addressed. But Mr. Green had brought up over the last 6 months that over the past 4 years, we have done a lot for nuisance abatements and hearings for residential areas, and now this council would like to concentrate on the business aspect of that. And we are working diligently with the administration to clean up a lot of these eyesores as we did tonight, and we'll be working in the future. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Item 16B.
Item 16B, Assistant Council Secretary Keith J. Sadowski. In Ray, request to have police look into whether our 911 system can receive text messages, emergency requests.
I don't believe we need any action on this, but Mr. Sadowski, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason why I'd asked for this item to be put on the agenda, I was actually sitting and having a conversation with my wife and my in-laws over Christmas. And one of the questions that they had posed to me was, through the technology, through phones now, what would happen if a person was in a situation where they weren't able to communicate a problem and needed to dial 911? For example, if someone had broken into the home, someone was hiding within the home and wanting to at least alert the police that there's a situation at hand, do our 911 systems allow for text messaging? Well, the answer that I had was I didn't know. Speaking with the police department had said that the capability or the availability of it was something that they had never explored in the past. I did receive some information from the police department today, which indicated that a county, Durham County residents are now able to text 911 emergency calls in, and this is a trial. This is going on as a trial basis. Now, it's just Verizon customers that are doing this, so the technology is being developed, and I'd like to see our police department start to move forward to look if we can go ahead and have texting to 911. There's also other capabilities. You may have someone who is hearing impaired, and for whatever reason, they can't get to the hearing box to activate the box to send the message out, but they'd still be able to communicate through text messaging. Now, something that was kind of brought up over the last couple of weeks with discussions, most of the phones, the iPhones, the Droids, have video capability. And that might be something that we want to look at too, where you would be at an accident site and you would be reporting what was going on. You could actually show the people at the 911 center the accident and possibly walk through and give them a full report, as opposed to there may be details that you as the caller are missing. So these are again advances that we have now with technology over the last couple of years that we didn't have even 5 years ago, that I'd like to certainly see implemented in Warren, or at least investigated. I still believe that calling 911 is the most effective way of communicating with emergency responders, simply for the fact that they can ask questions. When you text message back and forth, there's a delay in time, but I think at some point there is a reasonable expectation that this technology would be available to residents. Also taking into consideration that most text messaging you can only do 160 characters, but still a lot of us, maybe not so much the generation ahead of me, but my generation and below, a lot of us do communicate through text messaging, and this might be something that would be utilized better within the city of Warren. So basically what I'm asking is that we have the police department look into this capability, find out what it is in Durham County that they're doing and the success, the limitations, and try to implement it into our system. Because our system is unique. Unlike most counties or most communities, we actually own our 911 system. So we can make changes to it without affecting other areas. So that would be just my ask, is that council send over a request to the police department to look into this.
Mr. President.
Support that motion. I know, it should just be noted that Deputy Chief Glasso sent over a document outlining what other communities are doing as well. So they're right on top of that.
Okay, thank you.
And is that a motion, Mr. Stowski will make? Motion. Support, all in favor, say aye.
I think Mr. Bacamino.
Mr. Bacamino, you want to discuss any further?
I just wanted to add real quickly that a thank you to Mr. Sadowski, because throughout my 5 years now on council, 4.5, I know he has spearheaded technology. We've gotten a lot of technology because of his persistence, and it's something I think a lot of people out there take for granted, but it is, again, you know, it's a slow process. Someone's got to push it, someone's got to ask for it, it's got to be researched, there's got to be all kinds of stuff going on, and this is the start of it. And I'm looking forward to when we can say that we have that capability, so we can, again, give the entire city of Warren kudos. But I appreciate you always spearheading the technology part of our city.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We have item 16C.
Item 16C, Councilman Robert Bacamino, INRAE, status update of all grants within the fire department.
Real quick, we've already discussed this. We have our report of how much money is left. Now, I did want to bring it to council's attention. I was aware of it because I'm on an RFP for security for the 2008 grant spending, which expires April 30th. I just want to know now that we realize there's about 400 grand, does council want to meet in a month to see the progress? We have 2 months left, or do you want to just leave it alone? What's the feel?
Wait, we don't want to leave anything alone.
I mean, anybody?
But go ahead.
I would make a motion that we request a status report in 30 days on the expenditure of those funds.
I would support that then, because I would, if we get the same results, if we don't have anything spent in 30 days, obviously we're in trouble. So I would support that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That's, in regards to, there's one thing we'd like to mention, the Committee of the Whole meeting for the traffic lights and et cetera with the Macomb County Road Commission is scheduled for March 19th at a Committee of the Whole meeting, not March 5th, as stated. With that, is there any motions to adjourn? Support? All in favor, say aye. 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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.
Hey, Kelly.